run it and see what happens. So we left off with you explaining how you and Conlon started Async, the motivation behind it. It just sounds like two people who were passionate and motivated, which is always a good combination. So now, n0shot, go ahead and share those slides. We're back live now. If you want to screen share.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say like Conlon really had like the initial thoughts there, and then he brought me in, and then there's one other co-founder, Lisa, who's a bread baker. I don't know
Okay.
if you know her. So there's us three co-founders.
Awesome.
But from my perspective, like when we first started, yeah, it was just Colin came to me. He had that kind of initial seed, and it just made a lot of sense. And I got excited about it. I think it's got a world of possibilities with a really basic kind of a simple structure behind it. And yeah, let me pull up. I have slides because so first of all, we are like an art platform. You see Async Art, but I do. There are some fundamental differences of like what we do as an art platform. We do mint tokens. You mint your artwork, but the actual way that Async Art works is we call it programmable art, and that also may sound like overly techy or buzzwordy to people, but let me just like go through like what Async Art does. It's really not actually that complicated, but it does open up a lot of possibilities that can seem like it's complicated. So, but I love like, and I think it's why Conlon, first asked me to join is I really like taking like super complicated things and trying to simplify them and figure out how do we repackage this and explain it in a way that's really understandable. So it's not just this buzzwordy thing. It's an actual product. So if I share my screen, it should show, right? So I think if I share this.
Hey, there we go. Seamless transition.
Boom. Now I need to make it full screen. Boom. Can you see that?
Yep, we're good.
All right, cool. All right, so this is pretty short, but it's just easier to talk to when I have some visuals, just because it requires some like abstracted thinking a little bit. But so when we say, so I started off with like crypto art. When you hear the word crypto art, and everybody has their kind of version of what that means. Is it art that's based around crypto, and then is it token backed art versus like it's a colloquial term, but usually when you hear crypto art, like what we're talking about is someone taking a digital image or a digital piece of art that they've crafted and made, and taking it and basically inherently like linking it up with a token, ERC-721 token, which most of us are familiar with, but is a token that lives on Ethereum that's non-fungible, which just means that it's solely unique. So you have this very unique token that no one can duplicate, and you have an image that is unique. However, people can duplicate it. Obviously, when you're online, you could copy it. But when you link it, the genesis of the creation of this image to just introducing it to the world is just linked to this one token, and it represents the owner of that artwork. It has data inside of it, which number one links it to the image, has like the artist's signature on it, the date it was created, all that kind of important information is in the token, and it upholds its scarcity, and yet it's linked to this imagery. And that information, and since it's built on like a standard, ERC-721 standard, which was what I love about blockchain, is that like once you make it, you can resell this, in other places like OpenSea, or hang it up in other worlds, because it's following a standard that other platforms can look to. If you're just making a piece of art that just lives on a super rare or lives on Async or Maker's Place, wherever, and it only lives there, it's not. I think people don't like that, because it needs to be able to be seen in other. It needs to be bigger than one platform, because especially with artists, this is like an expression, a self-expression that's supposed to live on outside of a platform. It's not about what platform you make it on; it's about your art. And they use the platform for to be able to the buyer base, the collectors on there, and also they don't know how to mint a token with their art linked to it, so they're using you as a service. But ultimately, they'd like their token and their art to live on its own too, and that's why we use a token that has a standard. So that's like tokenizing an image, and that's what you see in a lot of places. So In that case, you'd have one token that's linked to a piece of art. So that makes sense. And what we do at Async is instead of just tokenizing the one piece of art, you actually tokenize the layers that make up the artwork as well. So in this case, if it was a circle, triangle, and rectangle, which is a pretty boring piece of art, but if it was, they have an order to them and they have separate pieces to them, and we call those layers. And if you think of any document like a Photoshop document or any digital media, video, audio, they all have layers and tracks to them. And having those layers in digital format is useful for artists. It allows them to shift things around. It allows them to touch up things and fix things and make their art. Layers is like inherently part of what is made up of digital things. And so by tokenizing those, we allow this master image to be programmable in the sense that if you change one of the layers, it updates on the master.
Wow.
And it's as simple as that. By changing one layer, the master sees that and updates its look. By just that simple like structure, you all of a sudden have a master NFT image that's one unique piece of art that can literally change over time and show different states. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. So just kind of to, I guess, set an example, so could an artist program this without the buyer knowing? Like, could they program something to change with the art piece at a later date without the buyer like realizing what it is? Like not in a
Like
malicious way, but like some
Yeah.
like fun creative thing, like kind of, I guess, to use like the Beeple art drop, where it was like if
Yep.
Trump won or Biden won, like that was
Yep.
two different pieces. But on Async, could that be like the same piece and then it changes?
Yes. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that Beeple piece is like exactly like
Hmm.
what Nifty did there. I'm not sure how they did it. I'm assuming they just kind of switched it over, themselves, which is
Hmm.
fine. We're trying to do that in a decentralized way. We're writing code into the master
That's
token
awesome.
that says, look to this layer after the election. If this person wins, look to this layer after the election if that person wins,
Wow.
and show that. And then it's locked. It's immutable. Like no one can change that. So when you mint a piece, all of the options that it can change to and the parameters in which it should change is written into the master, and it's immutable. So so with layers, you have what we call states, which are just alternate looks for that, and that would be the Beeple example where Biden versus Trump win. So in this example here, I have three shapes. Say we took token number 2, which is the circle. So if I bought that layer as the owner, I only have the sole right to change it. So I have 3 options there. Maybe one of those options is to change the circle to a red circle, right? If I do that, what happens is the actual layer NFT has one singular image for it. It's like a cover image, we call it. So that doesn't necessarily change. But when I change it and sign that change on the blockchain, the master sees that and it will change its look. And now the master will show the red circle and whatever other layers. So by doing this, and this is the programmable in the sense that people co-own it and change it. And then there's the sense that you're talking about where it's like automatically changing
Right.
based on an event.
Okay.
And both of those use the same structure here where, but in this scenario, it'd be individual owners. And so like a good example of that is like, to give a little more context, like this is a piece by Pac that
Okay.
was minted on our platform.
Damn.
So the master's on the left here, and then like all the layers, these aren't all of them. There's actually a few more, but this is a super complicated piece. Not everyone has to make something this complicated, but it really shows off, on the right, the layers, those are the cover images. So he decided to make the image for the layer highlighted in red what part of the image you change. You could make it anything. You could make it names. But the point of the image for the layer is to really explain what control you get. So in this one, you get, controlling whatever the red areas. So because of that, all different people own this. It's almost like a DAO, built in a visual DAO, where the master image represents the choosings of all the people. And so in the end, you get a master image you can see on the left with a bunch of different combinations. And if you look at it at any given time, it can look different. So these are just showing a few different like looks that it can take on based on different combos. And then you have like on the last slide, like a piece by Miron. This piece has 366 images he made, all compressed into one master. There is no separate layer owners. All the layers are in the master, and in the code it says tomorrow show this image, the next day show this image. So it
Wow,
actually changes each day. So if you hung this up on your wall, every day you wake up, it has a different look to it.
that's
And
amazing.
yeah, like this kind of a simple, like one piece with multiple looks is what we're trying to do with programmability. And it all kind of stems back to masters and layers. I don't know if I'm going to stop
Oh
sharing
man,
this.
we lost it. I was gonna ask you to go back to
Yeah, I can pull it
that
up.
last slide. I think it was Pac. Um,
Before Pac?
so
Or Pac?
yeah, the one before this one.
Yeah.
That number at the bottom where it says possible states, whatever that
Yeah.
number is that how
Yeah.
many
Any one
different
of
images?
sextillion?
Is that
No.
how
So
many
this is
different combinations there could be of that?
right. So
Holy
this is the
shit.
power of programmability, right? Like if Pac wanted to make all of these images, it would take up, whatever many like gigs and gigs and gigs of RAM, like and render time. But the beauty is imbued in this piece, there is this many possibilities. You could have a piece that has so many possibilities that you'd never be able to see them all. The idea is that at any given time, if someone changes it, our renderer goes through and looks at the current state of all the layers and then renders that one result. Now, there may be that many states, but will we ever get to see them all? Maybe not. And did he have to render all those out? No, he had to render out the pieces that build up to it. And I mean,
Okay.
it goes back to like programming, or like any sort of programmable thing. It's made up of separate pieces coming together in different orders to make exponentially more results than the pieces themselves. And so, like, this is a perfect example where he didn't have to render out all those states. He had to render out the pieces and then let people play with those pieces in different ways.
Okay. So do you like, I guess, kind of like what's the vetting process behind all these different pieces? Do you guys check to ensure that there's not like a giant troll job set for like 3 months after the purchase and it like turns to something totally different? Or is it just
Yeah.
totally up to, or is that even something that's transparent that the buyer can see like the different variations upon purchasing?
Well, so the master image holds basically instructions for everything. It says,
Okay.
here's all my layers, here's what I should do. So if you want to be a sleuth, you could look into the master and see what it'll change to at what time, or see, and then same with the layers. Any possible states that you could choose from as an owner, it's in there, so you could look it up. It takes a little work. But on the other hand, to your point, like when you mint an async piece, a master and its layers, you have to define all the properties at the time of minting. And then you can't add anything to it.
Okay.
Because technically you could have someone hack a piece of artwork and literally like throw a black layer in front of everything and lock it and burn the token. So if someone got your private key as an artist, they could mint on top of your piece their name and then burn the token, and no one would be able to fix that. It'd be like graffiti over a piece of art. And that's
Yeah.
possible. And at some point we may make it so you can do updates to your artwork. But if we do that, there's inherent like risks, and we'd have to make sure people knew that when they bought it. So that's why we're staying away from that. But to answer your question, yeah, if you want to look into the token and read the code, you would be able to figure out what it does. But there are ways to be sneaky where there's blending modes too. If anybody's familiar with how blending modes in Photoshop works, we support all that. So you could mint a few different layers that when they're moved together in a certain position, because people can move them if you want to let them or rotate them. So you could mint a few layers that if they go to the exact right position, they reveal a message or something if they're combined the right way. So as an artist, you could hide secret messages, not in the single layer itself, but in the combination. Like when I first made, the quests and crypto voxels, like there was a 12-word seed phrase that people had to find. And if I just put the 12 words at the end of the maze, if someone jumped to the end of the maze, they'd have all 12. If you could teleport anywhere and it would ruin the whole maze. So what I realized is, you have to split those things up and you find them separately, and then you prove that there was work done, and then you can fire. So it's similar in that sense, where if you just saved out a layer with a hidden message in it, someone could just look up that image on IPFS. But if you hide it in a way that they combine together, then you could hide, secret.
Yeah.
And it's cool as an artist. You guys basically can create paintings or artworks that tell a story over time. They're not, they're not, they're still immutable. There's still an actual, there's still like a provable like source to your artwork and what it
Hmm.
should do over time. It's still like locked in that way. And yet you can define that and let it run out over the course of even like 100 years. You could have a tree grow over 100 years, and that's the art piece. It
That
could
would be
keep growing
cool. That's cool.
after you die.
Yeah,
So,
the sorry, the thing that I was thinking about when I asked that question, and someone just mentioned it in World. I guess it was a Banksy piece, like
mm,
the shredder, like when it,
yeah,
upon
yeah,
purchase it went to the shredder, which
yeah,
is like one of the
yeah.
most historic,
I love that.
I guess, in modern day like art pieces. But then it's like you're kind
I
of.
mean, but that became more, I think it's more expensive now because of it,
Hmm.
right? I mean, it's like it had a lot of publicity, and it
Hmm.
was, there was a message there. And I think
Hmm.
the owner of that appreciates it even more because of that. Like the
Yeah.
message was awesome. And yeah, with an art piece, you could embed in like a triggering event could be upon, like we can pull any data for free off chain, right? So that could be, did it change hands? If it changed hands, then show this. Like those are
Yeah.
things that they could be done. So if it
Yeah.
changed hands, show shredded state and then lock it forever. That could be done.
Hmm.
Um, but people would know if you looked into the code. I mean, that'd be more of a Conlon question as to whether you could like hide that. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying like the possibilities of what you can do once you kind of make it programmable are there's a rabbit hole of ideas, and you kind of get light bulbs of
Yeah.
like, oh, I could do this or I could do that, and that's
Yeah.
why I got
The growing
20.
tree thing is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's
That would
beautiful.
be
Like you
super
could
cool.
pass away and it would
Yeah.
still be growing.
That would be super cool. Um, so I guess after talking about some of the different features that Async provides and all these uh, different pieces and interesting pieces that you can come up with, how can these artists be added to the website? Like, is it something that you kind of have to go through a intensive like vetting process to prove your legitimacy, or is it kind of more along the lines of Rarible, where anyone can kind of mint on the website and sell pieces?
Yeah, so first of all, like our stance, we've talked about this internally a lot. Like we see with async, like we obviously want to have like a good like buyer base in our gallery, and have good people coming through there, and good artists there. Like that's part of our product, but our main product is letting artists mint programmable media, right? Like that's what we provide as a service. And so whether or not it's, my point is that we see ourselves as a tool first, right? And if you were like the Photoshop of programmable art making, you don't have to curate or only have certain artists in. So our overall stance long term is anyone should and will be able to use async services, because it's a creation tool, right? We're not trying to be this premium place. Now, hopefully, as we grow and let more people in, there's curation tools so that you see certain cream of the crop pieces.
Hmm.
But long term, we want anyone to use it. Right now, it's still new, right? And we, every piece that you see in our gallery, when you look at it, has taken some sort of blood, sweat, and tears to make come to fruition, because it takes custom work to wire up all of these layers.
Hmm.
So we're only 7, 8 months old right now, and what we're doing, what our main focus is building the tools to allow more and more people to create without manual work on our end, because we do have a system where we kind of have to interact with you. You have to send us your individual layers in a certain folder structure, and then we can wire it up. And luckily, we're getting there. So we have a version 1 of our what we call async canvas tool, which allows you to go in without us having to handhold, upload each of the individual layers in your piece, and then kind of do it all without us. And as we build this tool out more, we can accept more. Right now, we accept, I think, 20 to 30 a month, and we slowly bring people on, trying to find people that are looking to push the limits, to understand the tech, and like can help push async forward. So that's why you do see some curation of artists right now from us. But long term, the idea is anyone will be able to create when we get to a place where we can scale to that and just let people come in and mint their pieces. But because we're not just a here's my video or image, make a token out of it, there's inherently more work, and so we're just still ramping up the tools to meet demand there. So we have a pretty long wait list, and we've just been kind of slowly bringing people over as we can allow it.
Yeah, I think every website right now that is for creating and collecting digital art, I think every website has a wait list. Yeah, I don't think there's
Yeah.
any website. I mean, maybe Rarible. I don't think there's a wait list there, but every quality website, it seems like people are like knocking on the doors to get in. Like there's
Yeah, which is, I mean,
that's
cool. I mean,
it's great. Yeah, it's a great thing.
I
Especially.
hope all creators can make stuff. We don't want to the keep it from people who just genuinely make stuff or cause fake, FOMO because you can't get in. It's really not. At least for us, I think some sites their draw is it's prestigious, and to get in you have to meet a certain caliber, and that's fine. And I think there's a place for that, and those are the places where if you are on it, you've been vetted in some way. Async is that right now because we can only let on so many people, but that's not our draw. Our draw isn't that only the
Yeah.
top artists can be here. It's that we have a service that no one else has, which is, do you want to make a piece that looks different in the day and the night? Come to us. Give us the 2 images, and we wire it up for you. And we do it in a way that if we went down as a company, it can still run.
So real quick, is everything on Async a one of one? All the art pieces, or can you mint multiple copies of the same piece of art?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we do have in essence, we're letting you do additions somewhat because you're minting layers.
With the layers, right.
Yeah. The master is always a one-on-one. That's like 100%. A master image, which is the main piece of art, is always going to be a one-of-one. But it can have layers to it. So in that sense, you're buying a fraction of the master, but with a purpose. They're still unique fractions, which I love. Like you're not just fractionalizing a piece and you own 1/10 of something. You own literally the head or that character, and it comes with it powers to influence the piece. Like there's a reason for it. I think that it's a really elegant balance where if I own a layer, I have the power to change the piece a little bit. If I have a master, I can't change it, but I own the overall piece. And then the layer owners get to change the pieces.
Yeah.
Unless the master runs on autonomous features, which is like on time or other factors, and it's not driven by people. So it could be either way. But the master is always one-to-one.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to call it gray area, but there's such a different aspect to async in that sense, where it's like the one of one for a lot of websites is a pretty simple question. It's yes or no. But given the layer aspect of things, it's obviously a little more difficult to define.
It's a little more, but every layer is unique too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like with additions, the reason I think something is an addition is it's the exact same thing, but a few people own it. So although a few people can own pieces of one piece, they all have their own completely unique attributes. They all have their own image, which can be a piece of art in itself. We encourage artists, when you make a layer, say I make a master image of my room right here, and one of the layers is my plant. If it's a plant and it can change to a few different types of plants, if I sell that layer, the actual cover image for it doesn't have to be like a zoomed in snapshot of that plant. It could be anything. It could be a piece of art in itself that represents plants to me. And so just because it's a layer and it affects the master, it doesn't mean it can't be its own unique piece. If you think of like one cool example I thought of recently with this structure is imagine someone wants to make a collectibles set of action figures or Pokemon. Say someone's like, oh, I want to make a Pokemon series and I'm going to make Generation 1. They could make the master image, which would be like a collection of all 100, 150, whatever Pokemon. And then the individual layers are each of the Pokemon ordered 1 to 151. And if you own that Pokemon, you maybe can change their position in the master image. But then, if
Hmm.
someone's making a series and you own Sandshrew or whatever Pokemon in that Gen 1, because that token's locked, you can't just add more Pokemon to Gen 1. You'd have to make a Gen 2 master with those Pokemon. So if
Right.
you're like into making collectibles, you could use this structure as the layers being the individual collectible pieces and the master image being the like snapshot of the Gen 1 collectibles or something. So
Hmm.
it's a good way to like show people, hey, I'm not going to make any more of this, character because it's locked in this token. It's like
Okay.
self-evident in it.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So I mean, I guess like with the one of ones, I know that there's a lot of people that only want one of ones, but personally, I kind of like something that is a little bit more community driven, where I think the layers is awesome because if you're buying the master image, you're still kind of getting the one of one, but at the same time, there's like this group of people who kind of own it, and it's not just exclusive to only you.
Hmm.
But I guess with one of ones, it's kind of difficult. Well, I guess let me backtrack a little bit. There's an issue right now in the digital art space and overall NFT space of wash trading. We see it a lot on Rarible. I feel like I'm picking on them, but I mean, when you create the Wild Wild West, I mean, you're kind of bringing it on yourself. But so like Rarible, there's some issues there. OpenSea, we see issues all the time. With the one of ones, it's a little bit more difficult to define when wash trading is happening and who's doing it because I mean it's art, right? If you want it, you're going to pay what you can afford to get it. So with that being said, on Async, has there ever been an instance of like blatant wash trading, and have you guys ever taken action against people who you've noticed doing that if it is in fact happening?
Mm. Yeah, so we're luckily, like I said, we're smaller in the sense that we've only been able to,
Mm-hmm.
to date, for being around for a while now, like there's, I don't know, maybe like 40 to 50 masters. There's a lot of layers to those masters too. So we have, I don't know, probably 600 tokens in our contract. But um, because of that, we have like with Rarible, I don't think like the founders of Rarible know all the art that's there because there's so
Yeah.
much, which that's their offering. That's
That's a
fine.
good point.
For us, we do know it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen some very large sales on the platform because
Yeah.
they bring a lot of attention, and not all of those are public of who bought it, but we know personally that they're legitimate buys. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily, from our standpoint, like we haven't had to deal with that yet because it's tricky. Like you can't always define it. We're working with
Exactly.
blockchain. People are anonymous. People want to stay anonymous. Sometimes it seems like it, and I don't fault, like if someone saw some of the sales that, like, we've had 100K plus sales on Async for a single piece, and when someone sees that um, just like randomly up on the web, I don't fault them for being like skeptical of that. Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge, why did they go for that? But I can say personally, knowing all of our sales, like they're legitimate. They are collectors that think that there's a huge value in this piece going
Mm-hmm.
forward and in the space. So there are genuine people out there that want to pay this for
Of course.
the piece. But as far as like, with Rarible, the reason there's wash trading there sometimes is because there's incentives in the token. I
Exactly.
think that's had
Exactly.
that, and it's spun that about. I know they're working on trying to fix that,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's an open system, so you really can't get everything. I think it's about the platform being conscious of that, and I know Rarible is trying to address that, and that's good, and that's all you can do. Like they made a token that has incentives for good things, and people could twist them for bad things, but you just got to adjust and work with that, which is what they're doing. So on our end, it's unfair because we have real good control over what's in the gallery right now, and we
Mm-hmm.
haven't hit that point where there's stuff being minted all the time we can't keep
You
track
can't.
of.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's been easier for us to reel that in. So
Yeah. That's
we're
awesome.
yeah. So
No,
on
that's a
our end, it's been good. It's been a good experience, and it's just been genuine collectors that are really excited about this new type of art, and the artists. Like it's really cool. I will say, as someone being kind of on the inside of watching artists work with big collectors, and like hearing some of their conversations, like the collectors are really like it's
Hmm.
hard it's pretty heartwarming to see how big fans they are of these artists, and they really
Hmm.
want to support them, and they have the means to do it, and they're doing it. And like I can say that's literally what's happening behind the scenes a lot with these
Hmm.
big sales. And it kind of even surprised me because sometimes I'm skeptical of things. And yeah, that's what's happening. Like it's pretty cool to see. I mean,
Yeah.
probably they're hoping that it will go up in value, of course. They're speculating
Hmm.
themselves, but it's not none of it's that I've seen has been any sort of wash trading on our end.
Yeah, especially when people are unfamiliar with the like the digital art and just digital
Yeah.
collectibles ecosystem. I mean, I sold a Zion Williamson rookie card in NBA Top Shot to Pranksy for like $10,000. And I'm telling people about it, and they're like, "Why? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense." But
Doesn't
if you're
translate.
someone who wants it and you believe in the blockchain tech behind it and everything, then why not? If you have the
Yeah.
financial means to do it. With
That's
that
another
being,
thing, the asymmetry in people's holdings of money. Like I think people think through their perspective of what 10K is, and to other people it's just it's
yeah,
worth it to them to take that risk because they're making a calculated bet, and 10K to them.
yeah,
And then also back to my original talks of like I don't see I never had a problem with seeing value in a digital thing. At first I was a little bit like, oh,
hmm,
like would I pay for this? But the more I thought about it, the more my life is in the digital realm. We're on digital realm right now. I'm in VR a lot. Like the things I own and I show to my friends are in that space anyway. And if it's provable that it is a really rare thing, like there's value there. And
hmm,
someone made it. Someone took the time to make it. It didn't just like pop out, and just because it's digital doesn't mean it didn't take love and care and craftsmanship to make. And I think that that can still be worth money even if it's just digital.
yeah. No, I agree. And especially, I mean, I came from a collecting world of like sports cards when I was younger. I used to go to like garage sales and buy stuff and sell it on eBay. I found digital collectibles and I was like, wait a second, I don't have to like leave my house. I don't have to pack it and put it in the mail. I don't
It
have to
doesn't
worry
take up
about it getting
space.
damaged.
I
Yeah,
keep my room clean, and I have all
exactly.
my
Oh my
assets. And
God, yeah. I used to have packing tape like all over the place.
yeah,
Um,
it's nice for your
yeah.
like mental. Like that's like with Bitcoin too. I think about uh, like I like gold and stuff, but like I love that I can physically, or I can hold value in my digital things and my money and stuff, and it doesn't take up physical space, and I can like have it still. I think it's just a nice minimalist way to live in some ways. Even though my digital room may be messy with all my NFTs, my physical room can stay clean.
Yeah. All right, so let's go 3 questions. Let's just go through them real quick,
Sure.
and then we'll wrap up
Yeah,
the end
fine
of
with me.
the end of the chat. We'll wrap up the end with a couple other more in-depth questions. But going through them real quick, if you can disclose it, what is the record sale on Async? Do you know it?
So yeah, it was uh, USD value wise. The most recent one was Sovereignty by Micah Johnson, and that went for 120K. Um, it was I forget what it was in Ethereum, but we also had before that the prior one, the highest Ethereum was 262, and that was the Bitcoin right time right place by Matt Kane. And that
Okay.
piece was one of our flagship kind of like early super programmed up, fluctuates every day to the Bitcoin price. And that piece sold for 262, which was 100K at the time. And then the Micah Johnson piece that sold recently
That's what I was gonna
was
ask.
less in Ethereum, but it was 120K in USD.
Okay, that's what I was
And
going
we
to ask
have,
you about that Micah piece.
yeah.
So then the next question is, and we kind of just touched on it, but who are the most popular artists that have sold their pieces on Async?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, them too have been really successful. Like the POC piece that I showed you,
Hmm.
one layer in that, the base layer sold for 97 ETH, I think.
Wow.
That was just one layer. So if you took all the layers and then the master got for a steal when you look back at it, because he held on to that layer and then sold everything else, and then later on sold that for a lot. So POC's been on there. We had a giant Swan Frenetic Void collab, which was cool. The Europe piece, a lot of money's like makes a decent amount of stuff on there.
Hmm.
There's a Trevor Jones and a lot of money collab coming up.
Yep.
It's selling this weekend actually, and it has a 50 ETH bid on it right now. Super cool. It's programmed to follow Ethereum price, and there's like a baby Vitalik or like a
Yeah.
boy Vitalik like painting that Trevor made. That's basically the background shifts, so it looks like he's either going up to the moon or he's going down to like the pits of hell, like based on the Ethereum price every day.
Wow.
And then the other cool thing is like how the boy like looks, his accessories is a layer that you can change, and they're gonna literally send that to Vitalik.eth. So they're sending it to Vitalik. So that way you know that if it ever changes, Vitalik himself changed it. So there's just a lot of cool concepts there.
Wow.
There's
Okay.
other famous. Then there's a ton of artists. I mean, Josie's on there. There's so many. I'd feel bad. I mean, most of the people on our
I
site
put you in a
we let
bad
on
spot. That's
that
on
people
me. If
know.
anyone gives you crap for that, I put you in that position to have to think on your
There's
toes.
a lot of good ones on there, and
When is that A Lot of Money and Trevor collab coming out? You said Sunday. What time can people
Saturday.
start? Saturday, excuse me. What time can people start bidding on that?
So our typical auction formats, we came out when we first launched with like, let's do live auctions, and people really liked it. So we still do that once a month. We hold, basically, we pull in some of the bigger pieces of the month. We hold a live auction. If you go to our Discord, you can chat with the artists. They'll be there. So this is something we've done since we first started. We've recently changed it to same thing. It's an auction, but instead of like individual times for each piece, it starts at 10 a.m. We go through all the lots for that day, like the pieces, let the artists talk about it, and then we kind of rapid fire go through them, and just whatever the highest price is, we give 5 minutes if anybody wants to bid over it, and if they do, it extends it, and until that sells, then we go on to the next lot. Kind of like one of our pieces was in Christie's recently, and we were watching their lots and how they did it, and we're like, we should do it like that. So we're trying that right now. So the way it'll work is 10 a.m. on Saturday. There's 2 auctions this weekend. And there's some cool stuff on Friday as well. Frankie Nines is in there, Neurocolor, and others. I'm trying to, but Natural Warp, I think. But there's Friday and Saturday, so we have 2 auctions tomorrow and Saturday. And at 10 a.m., if you show up in our Discord, we have also, if you check out our Twitter, who's selling this weekend. But 10 a.m., we basically talk through each of the pieces. I think there's only 3 each day. And then after we talk through them and the artists give their talks about them, we just rapid fire. But you can bid on everything now. So if you want to get a bid in, you bid now up until that time. And then at that time, we go like, okay, highest bid is going to close 5 minutes for anyone else. And if someone does bid over it, then we extend it. But we encourage people to just bid now if they want to bid on it. And then it ends sometime on Saturday when we get to that lot.
Okay. And that's 10 a.m. what time zone?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
It's not even my time zone, and I'm just thinking. It's 10 a.m. PST. Pacific.
PST. Okay, so what would that be?
Here,
7 p.m. UTC?
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Dude, the time change is killing me. The time change threw me all off.
Yeah. Check out a world clock, and then it's 10 a.m. PST, so I'd have to look it up for everybody's time.
That's all right. 10 a.m. PST is enough. Like you said, there's world clocks on Google. All right, so we got
for this every week, and so I should know like what time that is UTC. But
I even had to double check with you, and I told you what time we were chatting, if that was if we were on the same page there, because I was even confused.
Yeah, I think it's 2 a.m. GMT. I don't know if that's different.
GMT is even weirder. Yeah, I always get thrown off at GMT.
I'm not sure.
2 a.m. GMT, which I think is 1 hour ahead of UTC.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Let's let everyone figure it out and move on.
Check out
We're gonna talk in circles.
Async Art, and then check out you'll see it there.
See the timer. Okay. So then, real quick, I guess just piggybacking off of talking about like the popular artists and the highest sale. Do you have like a favorite art piece that's been sold on Async? Is there one that you look at and you're like, man, if I would have had the funds, I would have gone after that?
Ooh, I saw some of your questions, and one of them was like favorite artists and stuff. But I didn't think about like on Async what I could have.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge I love like Pac. I really love like minimal, super conceptual, just sharp looking, like well made renders and stuff. So I really like Pac. So the Tribe, I have a layer in. I'm glad I'm in that. Um, it's always weird bidding in your own
I
platform,
was
so I'm
just gonna ask you
pretty,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, do you
I
ever
don't
feel
usually.
like wrong for doing it or anything?
Well, I don't want people to think I'm bidding it up is my thing. And
I
I mean,
gotcha.
there's no reason not to, especially if I like it.
Hmm.
I don't bid a ton on our site because of that, but sometimes if I don't see any bids and I want it, I'll make a bid. And if someone bids me back, I don't bid back, is been kind of my
That's
thing.
fair.
Like I'll make a bid if I want it and no one's bid on it, but as soon as someone bids back on me, I try not to upbid anyone just because look, it's my own platform, so I just try to have a good face there. There's no rules around it, but I don't want to look bad. So there's
Yeah.
the pop piece. I just love conceptually because I really love slow playing. I love when I put it in the deck year Mirons like um, one a day. I just think that shows the power of programmability that I could wake up each day and check it and see a different look. And it changes through the seasons. And maybe next year in the fall, at the same time, I'll see that picture again and remember my feelings last year at that time. Like, I think that's just really strong. Um, I like, but yeah, I couldn't afford that. I think that went for like 32 ETH or something. I don't know. I mean, there's a few. The things that I do like I usually try to bid on, but some of them are too expensive. I
Yeah.
guess
It's a tough spot to be in because then, there's if I was in your position, I would think before I decided it was a bad idea, well, I'll just open an account under a pseudonym and I'll bid that way because I really want it.
sure.
But then if you get exposed that way, then you're really
Yeah,
in some
then it
deep
looks
shit.
even
Then
worse. I know.
exactly.
I'd rather just
Yeah.
be open about it, and if someone calls out, then I don't. You're right. Like there's you can do a lot with the
Hmm.
synonymous nature of like blockchain, but I'm someone to a fault that's like if I feel like I've done something wrong, I can't sleep at night. Like I have
I
like this
know.
terrible conscience. So
Hmm.
I'd rather do everything right and not do as well in the world because of it, but like sleep soundly. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Same. That was I was in a similar spot with the land that we're actually on right now in Decentraland, where I'm someone who talks with like Maddie, DCL blogger. I knew that he was going to open an art district here, and
Hmm.
I was conflicted on like buying land here because land
It's
is
like
selling for so
insider.
cheap right now. Everyone's moving into ETH, but I didn't want to like use my insider trading against the community and like scam someone out on some land. So I
Yeah,
waited
it's
until
tough.
the Pranksy sale happened. I waited until it kind of got released on Twitter, and then I messaged the owner who has a gallery that's actually directly behind the land here. He has some land attached, and I messaged him I negotiated at a fair price for it. But
Nice.
I had the same thoughts where I was like, man, I can't like not
Tough.
scam someone out of it, but pay
Yeah.
under market value knowing that it's going to go up when it's someone who I talk to almost every day for like months at a time. Like,
Yeah. Well,
so
that's
yeah,
good on
I know where
you.
you're coming
So
from. Yeah.
upstanding. I like that. I mean, yeah, you could. I sometimes weigh the
Oh,
difference. I'm
you
like,
could,
depends
yeah.
what. Maybe I get like land and I'm like kind of happy about it, but I feel kind of crappy too. It's like
Hmm.
I'd rather just like if I get yeah. I mean, I think it's all gray areas, and I'm sure people have done it, and it's. I mean, it's. There's nothing against certain things, but like yeah,
Right.
it reaches that insider trading line that I just try to stay away from.
Yep. Yep. Alrighty. So before we let you go, or before I let you go, I guess one question that's very tough to answer right now, but like, where do you see async going like 5, 10, 15 years down the road? Like, are you guys set up in a position that you are angling towards bringing on the best artists possible, as everyone is in the space right now? Are you angling towards providing the biggest collection available for people to come and purchase? Like, what is the area that you're trying to occupy? Is it somewhere that is more centered and focused on quality, or are you looking for kind of to bring on as many artists, not as possible, but as many artists to provide the biggest amount of pieces for collectors? So I guess is it creators, collectors, or kind of both?
Mm. I think it's a good question. I think for me, like, and our strategy at like Async, like what is really nice about Async is we really do have a unique like business prop where
Hmm.
we are a place where you can make certain types of media via
Right.
the blockchain that you just can't make anywhere else. And because of that, we have basically, a driving kind of DNA of our company that can help drive us forward. And because we are a platform about making this programmable kind of media, that allows us to like focus on that and what are the outcomes? What are the natural outcomes of that? The natural outcomes are we've had like bigger artists or very conceptual artists who care about making like deep thinking like pieces come to us. It inherently takes a little more time to make an async piece, and we attract people that want to do that and buckle in and like make something kind of groundbreaking. And so we've attracted those artists, so it's been great.
Hmm.
So in the short term right now, if you look on paper, we're more concerned about like less, more quality, pushing the boundaries. Long term, though, I think all we have to do is focus on like building out our product. I want to make, and we at Async want to make this available to everyone so they can express themselves using this like tech. We want to make programmable like media in a way that uses blockchain in a way that blockchain holds permissions and allows people to make changes and edit the ledger. Like that's what it does best. And we've combined that with media. And as long as we just continue down this path, like
Hmm.
who comes on and what collectors it attracts, I think will be a natural kind of outpouring of just the DNA of what async is. I think it's a very big idea that maybe not everyone realizes yet. I think if you look at async rough, just quick glance, it may look like almost a gimmick, like you're owning parts of it. But when you think of programmable media, like take it to wherever you want with that like thought, like we're thinking about it and we're pushing the boundaries there, and we have a lot of ideas on what it can do. And so hopefully you just see like we just start kind of blowing people's minds with like I think blockchain has a problem where people don't want to take the time to understand why it has value, like ownership, the cryptography, all that stuff. Not everyone's going to learn that. But if you make products that take advantage of how it works and it lets you do things you could never do before, that's
Hmm.
when it becomes a bit magical. People don't need to understand what blockchain is. They need to see, whoa, I couldn't do this before and I can, and I want to do it. That's what we're aiming for, like that side of things. I think we have a product that leans into blockchain and takes advantage of it in that way. So hopefully it just evolves naturally. It attracts the right people, it attracts the right collectors, and it allows artists to create things that they couldn't before. So I guess a little
Awesome.
bit of everything,
Yeah.
but we're definitely not trying to curate down
Angling
to the
one.
top
Yeah.
artists. We're looking at galleries too. We're trying to get. I mean, we think this is a serious new medium, and
Yeah.
artists are being creative with it. And so we're actively reaching out to galleries. We're trying to get in-person galleries going and stuff with museums.
Yeah.
So
So,
we're looking at that end too.
piggybacking off that, and it's great that you went there because it ties into a question that one of the community members here, Swiss, just asked in World, which is, do you see people hanging up digital art in their living rooms? Like some of those layers that change colors, like you were saying earlier, like if you woke up every day and it was changing its form, could that be something that you see like hung in someone's house somewhere?
Yeah, and I think this is what's super exciting about it. Like, think
Yeah.
about it. When you have a digital, like we have crypto art, we have digital art right now. And when you hang it up, or you think about a wallpaper on your phone, like these things are meant to change. Like
Yeah.
that's what screens do. And we're mimicking paintings that don't change by only hanging up one thing. So the first thing people are going to want to do is like change it to another art piece at some point. It doesn't make sense to leave it static. And so what we're doing is we're letting artists make pieces that can change their look over time. Take advantage of the medium you're
Hmm.
part of. You don't need to do everything from the old medium. You want to replicate certain things, but it doesn't have to be all that.
Hmm.
And I do see a future where you hang something, especially if you have a piece that changes when the sun rises, or if it's rainy outside in where you live, it's all of a sudden rainier in the painting. Or if it's fall versus
That's so
summer, the
cool.
painting changes with the seasons. Like these are things that digital art should be able to do Artists just haven't had a medium in order to make a finite piece that follows rules like that. And that's what we're providing. And then on the other hand, things that change based on not time or weather or whatever, more on what people do. It's another reason why hanging something up on your wall could be really cool. Like we have an Async Art TV app right now that people could go download. It's on the the Apple TV store. It shows our whole gallery, and you can put it up on your TV. And you don't have to own that piece to hang it up, because built into our system is this idea of if you have a layer, you can change it. That's like where your ownership is shown. And in fact, the more TVs that this art's hanging up in people's houses, the more powerful your layer change is. So it's in your best interest as an owner that it's popular, because if this POC piece is hanging in, you know, a hotel somewhere, then I can walk in that hotel and I'm the only one that can like push a change to the blockchain and then watch the hotel wall change. Like that's why, like, I just think digital art is, it's digital, which means it should be shown many places. You don't have to force scarcity in how it's being shown, I don't think, especially if you can do changes to it. I mean, there are other companies like Black Dove and some others that are like letting you buy subscriptions, almost like a Spotify, where you have your digital frames and you put up different art each day. I think we're going to figure out what makes sense for digital art to be hanging on the wall. I
That's
100%
true.
think yes, it'll happen. I'm
Hmm.
interested in like e-ink or other forms of digital display where it's not so much in your face, because although I love like crazy cool looking stuff, like you don't want that going on all the time in the background. So I think non-glowing screens, I think art that changes with the day, even if it's just darker at night and lighter during the day. I think all these things as they progress will give more of a reason to hang it up in your house, versus right now it's more like I bought this, I really want to show it, which is great. But I think as we catch up to that want, we'll have real reasons again why you'd hang a digital piece versus a physical piece. It'll have
Yeah,
its
we got
own.
to be able to have people over our houses first for that, right? Like right
Yeah,
now we're
that's
still
true.
so distant. There's
You
no
looking
reason to
at it
hang it.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Before I let you go, what's coming up from Async here in the near future? I know we talked about the drop on Saturday. Is there any other features or artists making a first time appearance coming up here on Async?
Yeah, I mean, we're always having kind of talks on the side with people that'll DM us with like interesting ideas. I think Frankie Nines is tomorrow, who's a pretty big artist
Hmm.
outside of crypto, and his piece is dropping. He has a pretty good promo for it too, like that explains async in a pretty succinct way that he just dropped today. So that's this weekend too. And then there's the Trevor Jonah. And then, I mean, we are looking to pretty soon have Magic integration in our site, which allows
Okay.
you to log in without creating
Yep.
your own wallet. We have like we have what's it called Fortmatic right now, but we're getting Magic integration, trying to get all these bells and whistles for someone to come in with no crypto
Yeah, that'd be
to
nice.
buy and
Hmm.
add it. So those are some features we're looking at. The Canvas tool, which we just launched this past month. The Canvas tool, the idea is like there's so much you can do with async. Let us give you templates. So a day and night template, upload 2 images. Maybe there's a pre-sale, post-sale, upload an image before it sells, upload an image that it switches to after it sells. It's a lot you can do with these simple kind of recipes. So as we build out this canvas, there'll be new templates that we add based on people's ideas, and
I
then
like
people
that.
can start making more stuff. And then in general, like I alluded to earlier, like we have a lot of ideas of how this kind of um, async structure of masters layers can apply everywhere, and like we're building out the platform, and just keep a lookout for kind of new things that we try to add. It just takes time, like to build these things since they're brand new. Even coming up with the names for things, no one knows what to call stuff like masters and layers. We had to make all that up. So it takes time, but we're excited. Hopefully, in this coming year, like just keep an eye out stuff we put out.
That's awesome. I think the canvas is an awesome idea. That would be great. It's kind of just kickstarting some stuff.
Hmm.
All right, so we got Frankie Nines tomorrow, and then we got the drops. on Saturday at a time zone near you. Just check it out on
Right.
Async.
So it's Natural Warp, Neurocolor, and Frankie Nine's tomorrow. Neurocolor's
Oh,
piece
all
is
those
super
are to
cool too.
Natural Warp too. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
Natural Warp, his dropped like last month, but he's selling it now. That's just it's a day and night piece, super pretty. But it's cool. The Neurocolor one, there's a trailer for that that's awesome that they made, and then Frankie Nine. So all three of those are awesome. And then Saturday is Bart Allenson, Fabiello, and then the Trevor Jones Alata collab.
That's great.
Um, so yeah, the yeah, they're all cool. I mean, yeah, check it out. Check out our site. They're all up on our gallery. And then if you join our Discord and you look at the auction times or the announcements channel, it'll explain everything there.
Awesome. Well, n0shot, thanks a bunch for joining us. This was super informative. I mean, I know I learned a lot from it with the layers and everything like that. So make sure that you guys check out. I just posted his Twitter handle in the group chat here. It's n0shot1. There's a zero there. It's not a capital O. It's a zero, I believe. Correct?
Yep, it is a
And
zero.
then and yeah, and then the number one after it, and then make sure you guys check out Async Art. Even if you can't afford those pieces, go check them out because I'm looking at them now. They're
Some
pretty
layers are
pretty damn
affordable.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
But yeah, check it out. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to me blabber. I always find it awesome that people want to hear me talk. So it's always great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Oh
having
yeah.
me.
No.